Hey man, you ready to shoot that gear tasting?
Yeah, I was just typing out a few notes.
It doesn't look like you're typing out notes.
Did I say typing? I meant tapping out a few notes. Free patch to the first person who says what game this is. Hey guys, welcome to ITS. Today I wanted to start out talking about something we don't normally talk about, and that's our website. It's where we have most of our content at and other resources aside from the YouTube content that you're used to seeing here on Gear Tasting. We've just revamped our website. I'm going to brag on it a little bit. We're pretty proud of it. So if you can, go check it out. Tell us what you think. You can either leave a comment here in the video or let us know in the comments on the website. We have a new article kind of walking through what we did differently on the website. We think it's pretty cool. We've instituted some modern features. While we've had a responsive website for a while, this is kind of a new direction for us in terms of kind of a clean look and just some features that we think are a little more cutting edge and modern and allow you to really see the content and the website for what it's for. And I will also say, you know, we push the membership a lot on Gear Taste, and we talk about, hey, help support Gear Tasting by becoming an ITS crew leader and a member. This is one application where we've been able to use those memberships to actively engage and do something better for the community. So our website now has no ads whatsoever. You don't even have to use an ad blocker. We've eliminated all advertising on the website, so it's truly a clean content feel. It allows you to navigate really easily and find exactly what you're looking for. So that's all thanks to our members. So if you're a member, please, I don't know what I was going to say, give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you for your support, and just wanted to kind of give a little shout out to members for that. So I also wanted to start off talking a lot about Chemlights today. I thought that would be an interesting topic for Gear Tasting. I actually got a question surrounding that. But before I get into that, I wanted to quickly walk through something that's a little bit out of character for Gear Tasting, but this is a D&D starter set that I picked up, and Rob and Nick and Matt and I are all gonna, we've decided to play a game of D&D this weekend, and this is the starter set we're gonna use to play it, and I thought I'd kind of walk through it. It's probably been, I was talking to Rob, it's probably been before he was born that I played D&D. I was probably like 11 years old when I played it for the first time, and I haven't played it since, so way over 20 years ago. So I was kind of refreshing my memory on what it takes to play D&D because it's been so long. But it's kind of interesting. They have the starter set that came out, so it comes with, you know, the die that you need to play. It comes with a little rule book that you can read to kind of refresh your memory on how to play if you've played before and it's been a while like me. I really had to kind of go back and look at really what the premise of D&D was. That, like I said, it's been so long since I played it. I think we really kind of got motivated from the Stranger Things series on Netflix. They're playing D&D in the beginning, and I was like, you know what? It's been so long since I played D&D. We should all play that. So we're actually going to record a podcast on Ridiculous Dialogue of us playing D&D for the first time in a long time. But I think we're going to get Matt to be the dungeon master. I'm not sure yet, but so it comes with this rule book, and it kind of, like I said, explains what's going on. But it's really through narration that you kind of get into the gameplay of what D&D is, or Dungeons & Dragons. So one person becomes the dungeon master, and they're the narrator, so to speak. So they'll run through the adventure. So it comes with this adventure book. This is the Lost Mine of Felondiver. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but I can never pronounce shit on Gear Tasting, so I'll stick with that. But it runs through all the maps and things that the dungeon master needs to use to narrate the adventure. So I think I'm pretty sure there's an actual time requirement in this thing, or just a time value for how long it takes to play. But I mean, it's, if I remember correctly, it's, you know, somewhere in the neighborhood of 4 to 6 hours or something like that to play a game of D&D, and who knows whether we'll finish it all in one night. But then it also comes with some character cards. So in addition to something like this starter set where you have dice and player cards and a rule book and an actual adventure, you can get some supplemental material. One's like a Dungeon Master's Guide, one's a player's guide, and then one's a monster's guide. So using all three of those pretty hardbound, thick books, you can kind of plan your own adventure based on those. So you're not actually using a ready-to-go adventure that a dungeon master is reading through. So it's really kind of cool. You can tailor it to whatever you want to do. You can build your own character. So this is a blank character sheet, so you can build that if you wanted to, make copies of it. But then there's also five different character sheets that come with this. And that's probably where we'll start out, just kind of selecting one of these random characters that they include with this and playing as one of those, since we don't really have our own characters. But anyhow, I thought it was neat. I just wanted to share it with you if you're kind of out there and we're looking to get into this again, like we all have been. But just a little aside from what this is about. This is a little spiel from the guide here. So the castle stands among the trees, the crumbling ruins of 7 round towers jutting out from it like broken teeth. An archway littered with twisted shards of rusted metal gapes open at the top of a short flight of steps. 2 of the towers, spectacled with dark arrow slits, loom beside the entryway, and a dark hall yawns beyond. So one of the players asks, "Let's send the rogue up and look into it and make sure it is safe." And the rogue says, "Okay, I'll move to sneak along the wall of the tower and peer inside through the entrance." So the players are kind of narrating or dictating what they want to do in the adventure to move along, and the dungeon master responds with the way that he'd play that scenario. So Dungeon Master in this case says, "Okay, let's see how sneaky you are. Make a dexterity check with my stealth skill, right? You bet." So that player would roll one of these D20 die like that, and I got a 16. So I'm not super sneaky, but I'm a little sneaky. So there's no sign that anyone would notice me, and we'd go on from looking inside and seeing what's there. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting. I'm looking forward to playing it again. It's been a long time. It's probably some super geeky shit many of you might not even want to get into, but I thought I'd at least talk about it in the gear tasting. Okay, so questions over coffee. This is actually really old leftover coffee from this morning. Made an Americano at home from Blue Bottle Coffee, and it's pretty cold, so I'm drinking it anyway. It's my cold brew. Anyway, first question is from Billy Bogota on Twitter, who asked, "Do you have an experience with or opinion on Krill EL light sticks as a replacement for chemicals in a non-tactical use?" So I thought that would be a good opportunity to really kind of talk about chem lights as a whole, what they're used for, and how you can integrate them in what you're doing too. So I see chem lights, in my personal opinion, as through a deconfliction type thing, and also a safety aspect. So if I was going to set up a trail or set down markers, chem lights are a very cheap, easy to use, inexpensive thing to do that with. So chem lights come in a lot of different flavors. I've probably got relatively 150 or some odd chem lights in here of all shapes and sizes, and I think Rob and I were calculating it out, and I could break an 8-hour chem light and have like 50 days of light in here. So got enough to sustain me for a while. But there's kind of some primary colors and other colors that chem lights come in. So really you've got green, blue, red. I think there's also a yellow, and then there's a high intensity yellow too. There might be a high intensity green too. I don't know if I have any of those per se. And then there's IR too. So if you're wearing nods, IR chem lights can be a great way to leave basically a sign that you're in that area or something like that too, or to mark a vehicle that you're going to come back to when you're on nods hunting or something like that. So to just kind of give you an example there, I've been hunting before with hogs on nods, and we used a IR chem light to mark a vehicle so that we could see that through nods, and we'd be able to get back to it too, when we kind of got further away from the truck. So that's a great principle for using a chem light too. A lot of people carry these in their vehicles and kind of use them as modified road flares. I don't really suggest that. I suggest actually using real road flares. These are ones that I keep in my truck, and I'll talk about those in a second. But I think chem lights are more quick use type of scenario. You can carry them in your car, but just know that they do have a shelf life. While there's a printed date on them, I've had some Chem Lights, and I'll actually show you an example here. These are kept in a heated environment. These are my kind of dummy ones that I don't use anymore, but just to give you an idea, these are some that have a expiration date on them of, no, those are newer. I lied. I thought I had some really old ones here, but maybe I got rid of those. Looks like I did. Sorry, I was going to give you an example of a really old Chem Light, and wait, you know what? I got some in here. I take that back. All right, so these have an expiration date on them somewhere. Bear with me just a second here. All right, so 2006. And these are just little mini Chem Lights, so this is an idea of, you know, how small Chem Lights can get too. It is glowing. You can't see it, but it's glowing. It's a poor example, I apologize. But anyway, they will last a lot longer than their shelf life, but when you keep them in heat in your vehicle and things like that, they will degrade and you will notice a difference. So if you're depending on them kind of for a safety or emergency situation, I really wouldn't depend on them that way. So, you know, the question that Billy had was in regards to those Krill EL lights. And what those are is basically an electronic version of a Chem Light. So it's a, you know, kind of a high output light that's got a battery in it. But my deal with that is I've never really even tried to use those. I've always just deferred to traditional Chem Lights just because they're disposable, they're cheap, and I never have to worry about replacing batteries in something either. So traditionally with Chem Lights, you've got a couple of different sizes here. You know, I mentioned the really tiny size Chem Light that I just threw down somewhere, but anyway, they come like this. They're called like 1.5 inch Chem Lights, and they're mini Chem Lights. And then you have kind of your traditional Chem Light, which is a 6 inch Chem Light, and they basically have a either a hook or an eye in there that you can, you know, girth hitch a rubber band or something around and tie them to something. But basically the way you work these is you just crack it open like this, and then now you've got your Chem Light that's broken and now on. So this one in particular is a 12-hour Red Chem Light. So we use these at our muster event each year to mark trails and stuff like that for our FTX events and things like that. So that's why I have so many of them. We definitely use these every year at muster. But I also picked up some of these little IR Chem Lights. These are 1.5s in IR. So I use these. These are a great thing to use too, like, you know, on the back of a helmet for like identification, friend or foe type scenario. Really, the applications for Chem Lights are endless. There's really no right or wrong way to use a Chem Light, and there's really no wrong color to buy either. It's just a matter of your SOP. So if you decide with your buddies that, hey, we're going to do a search and rescue operation, we're going to be moving through this house, and every room we clear, we're going to toss a red Chem Light in there to show that we've cleared the room. If it's a room that we don't finish clearing, maybe we're going to toss a green Chem Light there to say, hey, I haven't finished clearing this room. We need to come back and circle up and check this room later. So that's what you can use it for. In the military, blue Chem Lights are used for different applications like deconfliction and stuff like that too. So you know, you can really just tailor the colorways to whatever the different signals mean for your group. So I carry a few mini Chem Lights, and that's what I was about to show you here. So on my rig, I kind of have this little Velcro piece that I keep on here, and this is, I think, from EOG is the company name that makes these, but they make these little holders like this that carry the, sorry, I'm going to get the size here, just so I don't mess this up. I don't know. They don't have an actual size on them, but they're basically about half, maybe I'd say they're probably about a 3-inch Chem Light versus the larger 6-inch ones. But so these are what IR Chem Lights look like. They come in a purple color, so you can kind of visually identify them as IR, whereas the colored chem lights are usually clear with the color liquid that they usually are. So green and yellow can really get confusing if you're just looking at it from this aspect. So it's kind of important if you open them from the package that you kind of identify them and know what you're dealing with. Taking them out of the package is not going to degrade them anymore. I haven't found that in my personal experience, that removing them and then storing them like this opened in the package is not going to really degrade the chem light. But anyway, that's kind of the way that I use them too. So this is kind of a nice way to have these on your rig and be able to toss them if you need to, or mark things as needed when you're out. So the other thing the last thing I want to mention about chem lights is that these are kind of cool. These are kind of old school. I've had these forever. I think I got these at an old surplus store. This is 1990. These obviously I bought these when I was much younger. Okay, so here's a chem light from 2004. Let's see if this works. This is pretty damn old. That's when the expiration date. And you can see the liquid kind of turned colors there. Look at that. That's a 2004 chem light and it still works. So just to show you that, and that's when the expiration date was too. I didn't really see I don't think it had a manufacturing date on it, but it said that it expired in January 2004, and these things have been stored like crap. They've been stored in the garage at my house, and then they've been up here at the shop in the warehouse in heat. So this may not last what does it say? The 12 hours that it says, but it's damn sure glowing right now. So just to show you that chem lights do last a long time. So these are actually surface flares. So basically what this is a contraption in the system that you set up like a trip flare, so that when someone walks through your line, it actually engages the chem light. I don't want to set it because I'll probably wind up screwing my hands up. But anyway, you basically prime the surface trip flare. You mount this to a tree or something like that, and if someone snaps the line, this arm engages the chem light and cracks it, just like you would if you were bending it like that. This little arm right here, I can probably put this in and show you real quick. So that's basically what the arm does. It bends the chem light and cracks it so that you get that visual indicator that someone's in your path. And if you're on nods, you could always use an IR chem light too and be able to see that without somebody seeing that they've activated that too. Anyway, I thought these were pretty cool. Like I said, I've had these forever. I bought these when I was a kid at some surplus store thinking I was gonna booby trap my house or something like that, but obviously I haven't used them. But that is a 2004 chem light. All right, guys, I mentioned I was going to talk about road flares, so I just want to touch on that real quick before we move on to the next question. I like these. These are Orion road flares. You used to be able to get these on Amazon. I don't think you can anymore, but they're probably about a 12-inch long road flare, and they last for 30 minutes. And what I like about them is you can bend down these little metal legs, let's say that, and you can stand them up like this on the street, so that as the road flare is burning, it's up and elevated and kind of in your face as you drive by. And like I said, I like these road flares because of the fact that they really do last forever. I mean, the date on here is the manufacturing date. It's not an expiration date. And this says 2012, so I've had these for quite a while, and I damn near guarantee they still work. But the way that you engage a road flare, which I'm not going to do on gear tasting here, you pop the cap. It's got a little striker on there, and you just strike it with the top of the road flare. Rob's laughing because he thought I was going to actually do it. I'm not, promise. So that is what I'd recommend to carry in your car rather than chem lights. Nothing wrong with carrying a few chem lights too, but these will really alert drivers a lot more than a chem light will. All right, I got predator blood on my fingers now because this chem light's leaking. So I guess maybe that's an issue you have to worry about with a 2004 chem light. So next question. And I just got chem light juice all over my thing there. Jake from YouTube asks, what's the brand of push-to-talk you have connected to your Sorden radio, and would it be the same for a Baofeng? Love the videos and your site daily. Thanks, Jake. Appreciate it. So real quickly on my gear, I guess this was from last episode. Some noticed I was running a push-to-talk on my Waksoon radio. So this is the radio that I normally run. It's a Waksoon, very similar to a Baofeng, which is what this is. but the push-to-talk is the same configuration on a Baofeng as it is on a Waksun. I can't remember what this plug is called, so I apologize if I can't remember that offhand, but I know we wrote a pretty comprehensive radio article, and I believe that I talked about the actual prong configuration that this is, but that's what you need. And I believe I actually picked this up from a guy on eBay that was selling these, that was repurposing the U94A is what this push-to-talk is called. This is the one that kind of clips on to. It's the same model that came with the Sordens that I have that I run a comms lead on. So basically the NATO drop lead from the comms right here. So the comms cable, this is called a NATO drop lead. It's kind of a big Chonga plug. That plugs into the top of the push-to-talk. This goes on your uniform or your gear clipped on somewhere, and then by pushing this button, it engages the transmit button on your radio. So, by installing this in the side of the radio, now you've got your comms that you can talk to someone on just like this with your headset. And then there's a little speaker or a microphone that comes down right in your face if you're wearing comms. So not only do you protect your hearing when you're shooting, but you can have comms come through that same hearing protection too. That's kind of the benefit of doing that. So what I would look for if you're going to look for this on eBay, and I was pretty hesitant to pick one of these up on eBay, but I did like the fact that this was somebody creating these based on the military surplus U94 push-to-talk. So I would highly suggest that. This is a U-94A/U. M9177 is the brand of the push-to-talk. So if you can find one of these with that configuration, you can use it on a Baofeng. So the speaker/mic on the side of a Baofeng is the same configuration for that push-to-talk. So hopefully that gives you a little information on that. I would just kind of search eBay. You could probably search even Baofeng or Waksun push-to-talk and probably come across one of these. All right, so if I die before gear tasting next week, it's because I ingested some predator blood when I was doing gear tasting this week. Next question comes from TNP Sheepdog on YouTube. Hey Bryan, could you maybe write an article or do a gear tasting on what to look for in a future spouse? I love this question. For example, what skills should he or she have in order to better integrate with the skills that you have in making a better team strategically? We talk a lot about if the shit hits the fan, we're going to grab our buddies and each man's going to be armed to the teeth, ready for zombies. But who are you realistically going to be with in that scenario? Your spouse and your kids. So maybe it would be a system where the husband is more specialized in shooting while his wife is more specialized in emergency medicine. I love your input. So in our business and other things, this is kind of a carryover from what I learned in the military too, is that cross-training trumps everything. So if you can have cross-training in any job or in any category of your life, it would behoove you to do that. So basically that means if, your example here of, a spouse being more suitable in shooting and another one being better in EMT skills, that's a great scenario, but what happens if the person that's got EMT skills gets shot and now the shooter is now trying to save that person's life? So cross-training is truly important, and that's really what I would look for. So one thing that I've always really loved and respected is husbands and wives that will go to training classes together. So they'll go to shooting classes, they'll go to medical classes, they'll go to driving classes and things like that, so they learn together. And then through that, they're probably able to pass a lot of that along to their kids too. So if I were going to suggest something like that for a spouse combo, that's what I would really suggest. As far as what to look for in a spouse, I am not the best person to give you advice on that, just because I got a little duped when I met Kelly. So this is my story from when Kelly and I met, and I typically tell this once in a while, but I'll tell her here too. So when I met Kelly, we were actually in a backpacking class at junior college before we graduated from there with our associates. That's where we met, actually, was in a backpacking class, and I thought, oh man, here's this cool outdoor backpacking chick. I'm going to meet her. We're going to go on these great adventures and things like that. And I kind of got duped because all she needed was a credit to graduate, and so did I, but I kind of got strung along a little bit on the backpacking thing. I'm giving her shit, but at the same time, she does get outdoors with me quite a bit. But I thought I was meeting a very adventurous backpacker, and it was a little contrary to what I thought I was getting into. But 12 years later, we're still together, so it is what it is. I would just try to pick someone that complements you in certain ways, but then is your total opposite in other ways. That seems to be the best combination for relationships that last. And if you're talking about integrating your skills together to fight the zombie apocalypse, it would behoove you to get somebody that you're compatible with. Hey guys, thanks for watching Gear Tasting. Remember to use the pound tag Gear Tasting on any social media network. We will find your questions and get them answered here on the show eventually. So apologize if some of you have been waiting a while, but I tend to just pick ones that interest me right before we film. So if yours hasn't been answered, maybe that's why. Anyhow, if you like what we're doing here on Gear Tasting, consider joining the membership. We linked it below. Allow us to give you back something in return for your membership dollars. You are actively supporting ITS and everything we do here, just like we were talking about earlier in the video. It allows us to do things like make a killer new website that has virtually no ads whatsoever. You don't have to run an ad blocker on it, so check it out.